Hello everybody, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and today we're returning to Strategic Command, World War II, World at War. It is March of 1944, and this is episode number 50 of our series looking at Strategic Command. It's been a long-running series that I've been enjoying myself quite a lot playing, and it feels like we're kind of coming to a head on multiple fronts. First off, in this most recent turn, we destroyed 3 American battleships, 2 battle cruisers, and 2 heavy cruisers, along with an entire division of Marines at sea while crippling another Marine division at sea. So the American Navy lost very heavily this turn. The turn before, they lost 3 destroyers, and the turn before that, they lost 3 aircraft carriers and 2 battleships. So the American Navy is reeling and has lost more than 25% of its entire strength just this in the last 2 turns, let alone the turn before that. So the American Navy is shrinking, the Japanese are gaining control of the seas, but the Americans still have a reasonably strong Navy, so we'll see how things play out. So far, the Americans have not been able to land on any islands. The Australians did retake Dili, which is the capital of Timor. It's a Portuguese colony for the first successful Allied counterattack in the Pacific. But that success feels fleeting if they have no ability to maintain it with sea power, because they'll be cut off on an island and eventually be starved. The British have a carrier in northern Australia, but we're not really sure what else we have to deal with. The Japanese air wings on some of these carriers have been pretty badly handled. The Hiru, for example, has no aircraft left. Meanwhile, some of the others have suffered some varying degrees of damage. We'll have to see how things play out as we move into April, but that's the naval situation in the Pacific. The land situation is kind of the continuing stalemate in the southern portion of China and also the northern portion of China as we wait for the season to change and hopefully overrun China. Burma has fallen to the Japanese. Tehran has fallen to the to the Germans. So this entire Iranian province is about to swing over to the Germans this turn. The Caucasus is Germany. Germany just took Perm, which is an alternate capital for the Soviets, so presumably the Soviets will fall if we can just take their final capital, which is in Kubachev. They have a lot of troops around there, but so do we. And if the weather turns and we can start using our bombers against the Soviets here, then I think they're going to be in a lot of trouble. We have artillery, we have air, we have a whole bunch of forces ready to give the coup de grace to the Russians. Meanwhile, some partisans have been raised north of Moscow that could potentially threaten us in this general vicinity, but for the moment, the Moscow line is holding, and the Baltic situation is a little bit confused, a little bit dicey in some places, but overall, I think the Soviets lack the strength or the terrain to be able to rapidly threaten us in the next 3 or 4 turns. While all of that is going on, the Americans have landed in Italy, although they haven't accomplished much. We've successfully locked them out in the southern portion of Italy. We'll see if they launch any kind of naval invasion to try and end around us, but for the moment, it seems like we're somewhat secure, barring a massive amphibious assault. Meanwhile, in Europe, it does look like the Americans are about to launch Operation Overlord. We have American destroyers blockading the Bay of Biscay. We have American aircraft carriers also in the Bay of Biscay. We have British destroyers cutting off the northern edge of the channel, and we've seen our first troops, the British 12th Corps, loaded on troop transports. So if not this turn, then in the next turn or 2, I expect to see landings in France. We have rushed some reinforcements to the area, so we actually have 3 German armies, 1 at Nancy, 1 at Caen, 1 at St. Malo, and we have 1 German corps here in the south near Bordeaux, all just recently transferred to the region, so hopefully they'll be able to isolate or delay the American invasion should it come. And that's the situation. In the Middle East, we did take Jerusalem with the Syrians who joined the Axis armies. And we've also begun moving on Jordan, so hopefully we can take Jordan and finish Jordan out of the war as well. In Argentina, we have the Argentine capital, Rio de Janeiro, besieged, but we have no real effective way of knocking those guys out. So that's the situation there. And I think that's about it. It is, the turn is pretty much done, so I think the next step is to fast forward and see what happens. See if we can finish Russia off next turn, or if, I don't know, what else might happen. Iran should fall to us at the very least. The Battle of Guadalcanal continues to not going great. Axis liberates Persia. I didn't know it was considered occupied, but it did. Allied vessels continue to blockade the port of Bordeaux. We'll see if they land troops anywhere in France this turn. Germany has successfully developed level 4 fighters. I don't know if that means they're jets. There was a weird little sound effect that just played. And we'll see what the Allies do. I imagine the Russians will counterattack pretty heavily, given they just lost their only other backup capital, which means that the Soviets are on the verge of falling. As soon as the weather turns and our bombers can start really hammering home, they're going to be in some trouble. So you can see more Allied landing forces here in northern France. We just destroyed the 2nd Marine Division, which collided with our battleships there, so that was at least a success. We'll see if the Soviets redeploy some of their units here to try and strengthen their defense around Kuznetsov, or however you pronounce that, Kubachev. Yeah. And the important thing really is knocking Russia out of the war, because if the Americans are going to start landing in France, we basically got like one turn to figure things out here. The interesting... Oh, there's a British carrier too. So British and American carriers both launching attacks. Lots of naval movement in northern Europe. American destroyers attacking Japanese carriers. American heavy cruiser north of Java. I have no idea where all these aircraft are coming. How are we not spotting them as they move through the Java Sea? Bombers hitting St. Malo and actually doing some damage there to the ground troops there. We've now detected 2 enemy landing forces. The interesting thing is the newest one that we have there is in sight of, or is in range of our coastal guns. So we'll have to see if we can hit them, assuming they don't land. If they land, we may be screwed. But you can see massive American air power here is hitting those troops near St. Malo and the troops near the Hague and Cherbourg. They have a lot of aircraft in that region. Soviet bombers finish off that unit. Meanwhile, some attacks north of Moscow. We do have one interceptor unit there that's doing some damage to the British bombers that are attacking. Or not the British, the Russian. British bombers activity in China, doing some damage to the unit there at Golmud. Or Golmud, no N. Canadian destroyers, Russian destroyers, more Russian warships here in the Black Sea near Sevastopol. Russian mechanized counterattack here south of Kubachev. That's a little bit of a threat there as it potentially cuts this Hungarian unit off. The southern theater there is really kind of open. So if the Russians do make a serious move there, and they are attacking on that southern flank, that could kind of unbutton this whole line. But if they lose their capital next turn, hopefully they surrender and it's all over. But we'll see. Saratov launched a counterattack there against the Hungarians. More attacks against Pskov. And if they're going to reinforce those paratrooper troops, if they're just going to let that city in the Baltics there fall that we've been kind of in front of since the beginning of the invasion of Russia, but never really made a serious effort at. It'd also be great to reduce Sevastopol, but my hope is that that's not required. British tanks in the desert still failing to reduce the Italian troops there. Italy still controls more than half of Egypt and a good chunk of Libya. The AI really didn't do a thorough job of rooting the Axis out of North Africa. There's just one unit there, but, you know, they didn't do anything. They just kind of let them be. I don't know why. You can see mechanized American units are moving into southern Italy, and actually, they're now going to be in the range of those level 2 Italian heavy tanks. So maybe we can cripple those guys, because they're already weakened. I think we hit that unit with some shipping when they tried to land in North Africa, and they've since moved to Italy without reinforcing, oddly enough. I'm not sure why, but that seems to be the case. They're only at level 5 strength. Japan just got the new carrier Tahoe. We'll have to go ahead and reinforce her units and get her up to strength. She's coming in at half strength. More American ships are colliding with our units here off the coast of Australia. It seems like someone flipped a switch and America's moving huge portions of their army in the Pacific via amphibious maneuvers, but so far they haven't gotten any of those troops ashore in the Pacific. We'll see if they land in Europe at the end of this turn. I imagine the turn is wrapping up here. Allied vessels blockade the Bay of Biscay. The Great Escape, 76 prisoners of war escaped from Stalag Luft 3. I don't know if that has any real impact on the game. I don't think it does. So they didn't land. They moved those units around. A lot of naval activity. I guess this is the game's way of foreshadowing the Normandy invasion. We did lose a corps. Okay, there's Mexican troops in Mexico. Shocker. Long-range transport spotted in the North Atlantic. The Ninghai cruiser that was originally a flagship of the Navy of the Republic of China is not currently fit for service, but could be equipped and fitted for active operations so as to be ready for service in Tokyo Harbor on the 1st of... blah, blah, blah. 200 MPP, 50 MPPs per turn for 4 turns. I mean, why wouldn't we? There's no... I mean, it's going to cost a little bit of money, but sure. All right, Japan has a whole bunch of garrisons that are not now available. Doesn't look like I can put them on any of these islands that we occupy. Looks like I have to put them into the home islands. So let's put them into locations that we have ports that they can quickly start heading to China, because that's where the garrisons are needed. Anybody else? I don't want to really move them to Hiroshima. Here, let's do this. Let's cancel that for now. And then let's transport these guys. And we're going to move them here, I think. Move them ashore there. The mechanized troops are most relevant as far as the Chinese theater. I have a lot of areas where mechanized troops will be much use in other theaters for Japan. So we got the mechanized troops ashore. Then we're going to race them west. Meanwhile, we do have fighter aircraft here that can provide escort. There's 2 enemy fighters that we're going to have to deal with. We're going to go ahead and see if we can start reducing some of these enemy ground units. Alright, so let's see what happens. We've got escorts. -1, -2. Interesting. So the escorts there actually did pretty well for themselves. Or the interceptors, that is. So a second ring of interceptors, a second ring of escorts. 2, 1, 1. So, okay, we got 3 of their fighters that time. Meanwhile, we should successfully destroy that unit here to the south, and we did. So they're dead. And now I think we focus on this army unit up here with our remaining aircraft. There's 3 enemy fighters? Jeez. Apparently they didn't hit our bombers at all, at least. These army fighters didn't even fly up to help. A 4th enemy fighter. Jesus. Waiting to see if there's a 5th there. Alright. So we successfully destroyed that enemy army. No one can move into the gap there, though. Interesting. Alright. Well, we'll reinforce those guys. Man, these guys can be level 2 reinforcements. Wow. Level 2 elite. Alright. So we successfully destroyed 2 enemy Chinese units here. Hopefully that starts opening up the door to their capital. Alright, so there's British Special Forces in Lashau, or however you pronounce it. Ah! I wasn't actually trying to attack India. I was just kind of trying to see what's over there. Okay, we're going to move the headquarters unit forward to Mandalay. We'll move garrison into Rangoon. So, wasn't really trying to attack India, but I guess we can. Oh, no, not quite. Didn't quite go how I wanted it to. Wow, these guys can now move forward because we have the mobility. That's a lot of headquarters units there. Maybe we can destroy them. Alright, so what are these guys doing? Attack them. Okay. So they can't move. Alright, chunking. Let's upgrade this core. Level 2 infantry weapons and 1 mobility. We'll reinforce these guys. Alright, so we'll have to start moving things around when the next garrison comes. Oh wait, we have another bombing unit here. Huh. These guys have no more attacks. The strike bombers actually do. So we're going to go ahead and bomb that city. Alright. So do that. I think that about does it for Japan over here. I think we need to move south and see what we can do with these American troops here. The 3rd Rangers are also apparently at sea. So we destroyed them. Another American unit destroyed at sea. More freaking troops. How much of the American army is at sea right now? Alright, let's see if we can finish these guys off. Sometimes they have this nifty ability to avoid damage. Alright, so we're kind of patrolling south. Meanwhile, we did detect the American fleet up this way. Kind of forgot about that. So let's see if we can finish off these destroyers. We can. We've got a heavy cruiser over here. It's also in... what do you call it? Weather, that means it can't just be bombed because of the rain. Okay. Kind of want to move them back to Singapore to repair. Okay, so they quickly move that way. See if we can repair there. Didn't we have a destroyer out this way? We do. Okay. Like, I don't... Can we reinforce the aircraft here? We can. They're going to lose all the experience. But we'll at least have an air wing again. Upgrade the carrier. Advanced fighters, naval weaponry, long range. These guys can move up to Singapore where they can repair next turn. Alright, so our navy is horribly dispersed at the moment. But the good news is we destroyed more American units. Their navy's down to 21 units, so they've lost 2 more. Their ground units are at 56. I'm not sure where they stood before. But we'll have to see how that plays out for us. We'll also reinforce the carrier. So it is immediately brought up to full strength. Now we have to worry about the air wing. Yeah, so that's the situation there. Destroyed 2 of the 7 Chinese units up here, so hopefully that weakens them and brings them closer to defeat. Legala will still stay on the defensive. Syria will take the capital of Amin, so Jordan will fall this turn. So Jordan and Palestine both will fall. I'm not sure. So they liberated Persia, but it didn't actually trigger anything. That's interesting. Like, it didn't actually trigger a... I don't even know what to, like, weird, right? So we've kind of got to manually liberate Persia by the looks of it. All right, before I forget, let's reinforce the troops at St. Malo to full strength. Troops at Nancy need to upgrade. I think also this is one of those rare examples where we do want to spend all the money we can on anti-aircraft defenses in the theater, because they're going to keep getting bombed, so we should do what damage we can to their aircraft. Meanwhile, we can attack here. Our coastal guns nearly destroyed the first UK army. I don't know if they can shoot at... Doesn't look like it. I was hoping maybe they could shoot at troops that are on landing craft. Doesn't look like it. But at the very least, we nearly obliterated this army over here. The 12th Corps still hanging out, but the first UK army is nearly destroyed. And we've got an amphibious US landing force, too. So we'll upgrade these guys. Again, I hate spending all this money on garrisons, but it feels important in this one case. So we'll do that. Spend the majority, or at least a good chunk of Germany's money doing that. Probably want to upgrade these guys too. Would have been great actually to upgrade the artillery weapons on these things too. Gotta hope that they bring troops within firing range on these guns, otherwise we're just wasting. But anyway. Also, we just knocked out the British in Denmark, so we can bring an entire army down here along the coast of Normandy. And then we can operate these guys toward here. So we've got a lot of troops all along the coast. This is we've got a pretty packed-in coastline now at this point, so hopefully they're not in any kind of shape to land at this stage. They'll need to do a little bit of softening up work, I think. Jesus, how'd they advance that far in? Well, how the hell did they get down there? Alright, so Kubenezhev is still muddy, but we can at least get some of our aircraft bombing it. Actually, most. We have one aircraft that can't, that's still stuck in snow. It's frickin' snowing in March. Come on, Russia. Stop being so Russia. Alright. That should be... So we just took the Russian capital. One will hope that that is the end of Russian resistance. The question is, what can we do to ensure that they aren't able to retake the city? So I'm launching some localized counterattacks here. That armor there. Move these mechanized troops down here. Knock out this air unit here. Finish these guys off. So we'll destroy that unit. Destroyed an infantry unit and destroyed a... destroyed an infantry unit, and also words escape me at the moment. But we also destroyed a air unit, which should take the sting a little bit out of their counterattack. This army is going to be tough. So we'll move these troops forward. Italian armor forward. Nice. Would be great if we could move troops over here to prevent them from being able to get... Because right now they're going to have 3 units that can counterattack. Doesn't look like we're going to be able to prevent that. I can't get troops adjacent. At least we destroyed an army unit, though. I'd hate to launch an attack and lose some strength from our defense. But I think that's actually what I'm going to do. These guys over here... 2... Alright, these guys... Let's move this armor in here. We'll attack this core here. Yeah, defensive artillery. Jeez, they lost quite a bit, actually. Nice. Fuck. So we destroyed another adjacent unit, but I can't move anyone in to take advantage. Can't even move the unit in the capital in. Huh. Reinforce these Italian troops. Well, we'll have to see if these guys can hold out against a counterattack. We may have taken it just to lose it. I guess the hope is they just don't have more than 3 or 4 units that can attack anyway. God damn it. Frickin' terrain. I shouldn't even attack with those mechanized troops. Alright. Yeah, so we'll have to see how that works. Move those troops. We're going to operate these mechanized troops somewhere. Honestly, I think we're going to mechanize them to... We're going to operate them to Europe. Near Paris, maybe? It's kind of like, I don't know where they plan to land. So we'll move them here. So we've got some mechanized troops in the region too. Move these bombers down here. So they can have something to do. We need some German garrisons too. I'm going to do that. I'm going to buy a couple of German garrisons. Not the Egyptian Legion. Alright, so we'll stick to the anti-aircraft for them. Okay, so Germany has bought some stuff. Meanwhile, we have these troops to prevent them from penetrating too far in, I think. There's got to be someone in here. Trying to get these guys out of here. Out of this pocket. They're kind of stuck. But we'll see how things go. We'll see if they give the Soviets a chance to counterattack. And the partisans are dead. Huzzah! Alright. damaging those guys. Nice and good. Can we finish them off? No. Just give them experience. Alright, so we damaged these guys. We didn't destroy them. Interceptors, that's fine. Hey, we almost destroyed that infantry unit. And meanwhile, we can destroy this unit here and actually advance in this theater. We need frickin' supply, though. That'd be nice. Could use some headquarters units. Alright, so we took this city here in the Baltic. I'm curious. I mean, we still haven't taken Leningrad. We still haven't taken Stalingrad. So the Soviets could hang on a little bit longer. I don't think their national morale's too low. They're at 52 units. Their national morale is to... Well, they lost a lot of units, but what's their national morale's below 50%. I don't know, I guess we'll see if this is truly the end of Russia or not. If they keep fighting, it'll be pretty annoying. I'm not going to attack there. Yeah, we'll see. They could bring, theoretically, 6 attacks against Kutuzov, so they may counterattack there and retake the city. One thing I do want to make sure I don't forget is the counterattack against the American mechanized troops here in the south of Italy. The Italians can only attack once, that's right. So I guess they could break out there. 6-2? Really? Eek. Destroyers don't attack submarines don't attack destroyers. Yikes. I just got my sub annihilated there. Alright, so that's Europe. What are these things? To boot, to beaver? I don't understand what the little red circles are. These guys are basically out of supply, so granted, so are our troops. Italy actually has a reasonable amount of money this turn. Is there any research Italy can spend money on? Infantry weapons? No. Armored warfare would seem kind of pointless. They've got like 2 tanks. Advanced tanks are already level 2 though. Maybe armored warfare is not bad. That's a doctrinal thing, so if we can jumpstart that, that would be great. Alright, so the capital of the Soviet Union has fallen. We'll go ahead and save the game. Capital of the Soviet Union has fallen in Asia. We've finished off the Burma theater, I think. There's still some fighting in Lasho, maybe, but in general, we've advanced to the border of India. We've also obliterated a whole bunch of American ships. The American Navy has lost 8 or 9 strength in the last 2-3 turns. They were at 30, they're down to 21, so actually almost 30% of its strength, as well as I'm assuming a pretty heavy percentage of capital ships. We know at least 1 carrier's in the Atlantic. I don't know how many destroyers we've really seen over here for the Americans, but at least 1 destroyer and 1 carrier, so that's at least 2. That means they have at maximum 19 in the Pacific, and I doubt that. So the Pacific is almost a Japanese lake, and we'll have to see how things play out. I'm curious whether we can really start shifting all of our troops west, or most of our troops west, or what we're going to have to do here. But that will be a time for another time. Wow. Until next time, guys, though. By then, we'll be in, 14, 20, so we'll be in early May by our next turn, and we'll see what happens. But until then, guys, I hope you're enjoying the series. Episode number 50 was a big one. The final Soviet capital fell. Can we hold against the counterattacks? What is it going to look like? We'll find out next time on The Historical Gamer Plays World War II. Yeah, that was dumb. Anyway, see you guys around till next time. This is The Historical Gamer saying thank you for watching, and I'm